Susie.
Oh, Sarah's using a beer bottle as a microphone.
Yes.
And that's ideal, frankly.
I'm drinking during this episode.
Love it. Love it so much. Episode 588, the one where Sarah drinks. This is a beautiful thing.
I like it.
How are you?
I'm doing so well. I am like living,
She's
laughing,
in her
loving,
overalls.
as we liked. I'm in my overalls, so I'm real happy. I feel like I'm acclimated to the altitude and the temperature, and I feel way more confident driving when it's icy on the roads. I get it. You're going to slip and slide a bit. Thank you to all of the listeners who wrote in and gave me some excellent tips and pointers. Also, I've looked into snow tires, so thank you to the people who recommended that.
That was their tip?
Yeah, they were
snow
like,
tire?
yeah, one of our listeners, I can't remember, I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she said, born and raised in New England, been through those stormy winters, always had two-wheel drive cars, but had snow tires, and they will save you from slipping and sliding around. And
I guess I assume that you know things, but why would you if you never lived in the snow?
I have no idea about these things.
Okay, noted.
I
will.
No, you know what no one tells you? I was late to, not late by a lot. I was like, the good thing is the dates that I'm going on are like snowboarding, so it's like I get there early anyway because it takes me friggin' half hour to put all this gear on. But I definitely it took me longer to like get out of my driveway than I thought. Nobody tells you or told me about the ice on the inside of the windshield. You can't have any liquid, anything in the car that has water on it. I don't know what. There's like a whole science to snow. I don't know if it was like it got hot
true.
and then it got
It's
cold.
called meteorology.
I'm familiar with it in its liquid form, not so much in the frozen form. And I was like, what do I do? And then I kept like trying to use a paper. It made it worse. Everything I was doing, it was basically the frozen equivalent to a grease fire that I was trying to throw water on, and it just like kept getting bigger.
Right.
I kept on like trying to lick a paper towel and then use that. It just kept getting icier. I'm like, what am I doing?
God,
I'm adding
more water on.
Yes, I don't know what I'm doing.
We have a humidifier in our bedroom, and that we discovered that very thing on the inside of the window. Then there was like a whole sheet of ice, and it was quite entertaining for a 9-year-old.
Yes,
but it would be annoying if you were late to a meeting,
right? Yeah, or a date. I was like,
or a date or whatever.
I'm like, what do I do about this?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So,
well, I'm glad to hear you're adjusting, and I'm also glad to report no trauma this week for Peg.
No Peg stories.
No Peg stories. Thank the good Lord. Whew. We can only take so much,
right?
Right. So all is well with her.
Good.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting scammed.
No, nobody's getting scammed. And then, as you know, I don't leave. I'm on lockdown, so
right.
I have no drama to report.
Oh,
no news is good news.
Yes. Mom is healing.
What?
I'm trying to think about.
Your mom is
any
on
updates?
the mend.
Same old, same old. Does have to have eye surgery and has to come to Denver to do it.
You think they're going to give her full recovery in the eyeball?
I thought you were going to say full new eyeball. Yes. No.
Oh my God.
They're going to. You know what I think she's going to do? She's going to work her magic and turn it into somehow she gets like a eye lift cosmetic procedure.
Yeah.
Like thrown into one.
Love it.
She's like, and now you got to make the other one match.
Right.
So like
That's
do the
only fair.
lids. I'm kind of
my
getting
God.
close to the age that my mom was when she got. Sorry, Mom, I'm going to put you on blast. Where she got eyelid surgery.
Right. But the Sally Rice genius move was finding a way to get it covered by insurance. Because you wouldn't want it to impede your vision while you're driving, you guys.
Right.
No saggy eyelids.
No. It's a hazard.
They're a hazard.
AWH.
Right? And so she is a safer driver and a more alert-looking person. 2 for 1 there.
2 for 1 special. Yeah. I need to try to run that.
Okay. I have to begin by talking about, well, funnily enough, that's the name of it. We got to talk about Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
That's the name of the docu-series.
Tell me about this.
That docu-series is on Showtime So I signed up for the 30-day trial just to watch it because that's a must-watch. It was unbelievable. It was truly riveting, horrifying, fascinating. Kamau Bell is the director and, producer, and he did a really, really good job of providing context about all of the things that made it possible for Bill Cosby to be a predator and allegedly. And, well, technically he was convicted, so I don't think
I think you can say that.
And
I hate that we have to throw that.
So he covers, like the race stuff. He covers like the Playboy culture, Hugh Hefner and that whole world that was happening. And then just the systems that are in place to empower people that are rich and famous and how that imbues trust.
Yeah.
Because he was masterful in creating a character, a persona.
Yes.
To make you feel very safe and feel that he is a decent man of integrity.
You're describing grooming.
Yeah. And on just such a bigger scale. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And it's maybe one of those things when it's so in your face that you can't see it. Like, it's so... you go, that can't be. Nobody looks, and it's right in front of you.
It's hard for me to get it because now it seems so obvious. And the people that were in the docu-series that had worked on the show, definitely none of the main stars are in this series because they're loyalists and apologists for him. But some of the, lower level people were in it. And they talked about how, in the audience, there would be, 200 people watching the taping, and then there'd be a pocket of 20 models that then after they've taped would line up outside his door and just one at a time go in there to read lines, quote unquote.
It.
Yeah. So all these people they're like, oh, I knew nothing. Well, I'd like to ask some follow-up questions.
Do we think oh my God, that makes me think so many things.
Well, because there are 60 women that have come forward.
Yeah.
60. And so imagine how many there actually are.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
I wouldn't come forward. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I know some people might think that's upsetting, but there is a big price to pay to come forward.
Yeah.
And these brave women that did. And by the way, a third of them were black women. Yeah. So this narrative of all these white women are coming after Bill, and because that's been sort of the mythology amongst his supporters, but a third of them are not white.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to acknowledge.
Well, I'm definitely going to watch that. Does it feel like... You watched the Surviving R. Kelly, right?
I never did.
Oh, okay.
But I bet it's similar.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does it compare? And sometimes they're hard to watch. It's hard to watch stuff like that.
Yeah, my brother said, he was like, I can watch murderers all day, but when it comes to sexual crimes, he's like, it's a different thing. And
so is it 'cause there's no justice?
Probably, and it is very hard to convict somebody, even when there's 60.
Yeah.
And it just here's my theory about why it all came out when it did. The woman that finally came out and sort of opened it up was Andrea Constant, who is a lesbian. Mm-hmm. And I think, unlike a lot of the women who were drugged, woke up naked, disoriented, kind of didn't really know what happened, Andrea absolutely knew that she was not interested in sex with him.
Yes.
Under any circumstances.
Excellent point. Yes.
And the fact that happened to her is so horrific, but it was helpful to open it up because I think she felt more certain. You know how you start to question, what did I do?
It is one of the hallmark responses and symptoms of surviving sexual assault or abuse is...
And I imagine that would be even more so when you've been drugged.
Absolutely. You start questioning, you go, maybe this didn't happen. And in a way, your brain does that to protect itself because you remember how my mom doesn't remember anything about her accident because it's too traumatic. So she cannot remember anything even before the fall. She doesn't even remember moments before that, before her head was even injured. Mm-hmm. That was you think that's going to be different for trauma of other kinds, that our brain isn't going to go, I'm just going to go ahead and take that part out because that's too much for you to think about.
Well, and a lot of them, when they woke up, and he kind of made them, or said, you drank too much or whatever, they would apologize to him. Oh. They felt embarrassed and humiliated and like, I made a fool of myself in front of this famous, powerful man who was going to help me with my career, and now I'm an idiot.
Oh,
like,
what a perfectly designed system to...
Right.
Yeah.
It's so disturbing.
Oh, that makes me sad.
And it's, he's out of jail now, as you probably know, and so it's really difficult for all these people who, like, were so brave and got him convicted, and then he gets out on a technicality. There's no justice. And I thought Kamal Bell did a really good job also of saying why so many people in the Black community are still supporting him. Mm-hmm. And it's a fair point, which is that usually we do make Black men the villains. Yes. Even when they've done nothing wrong, and sometimes we kill them. Yes. And so there's a whole history that have led up to all these people saying, like, no, not America's dad. Right. Same the way I feel about people who don't want to get the vaccine, who have a history of being Black in America in the medical system. Not so freaking good. I'd be a little skeptical, too. So that I totally get it. And totally get it. Man. Another thing you should totally get is this really delicious cereal that is actually healthy called Catalina Crunch. And I know what you're thinking, Suze. It can't be true. Can't be delicious and healthy. Cereal. I love a bowl of cereal. You love a crunchy bowl of cereal, I sure do. I think she wants it extra crunchy. I do. As a matter of fact. This is correct. But this stuff is really good. They have some nostalgia-inducing flavors like cinnamon toast. Yes. Come on. We all love that. They have dark chocolate peanut butter. It's delicious, zero sugar food, and keto-friendly. Yes. A lot of people are into that. Low-carb lifestyle. Love it. This is for you. For you. You can see why Catalina Crunch cereal is the fastest growing cereal brand in America. Just go to CatalinaCrunch.com/braincandy for 15% off your first order, plus free shipping. That's CatalinaCrunch.com/braincandy. Not sure which flavor to start with? Try a variety pack. Oh, yeah. And check out their delicious cookies and snack mixes while you're at it. I got to try those. Again, that's CatalinaCrunch.com/braincandy for 15% off your first order, plus free shipping. You love a snack mix. I do love a snack mix. She does. I'm a snacker. Just ask my nightstand. Mm-hmm. All those little nibbles in there. Yes. Okay, this switching gears is a much more enjoyable story. Okay. This was in the New York Times today. This 8-year-old boy named Dylan decided he wanted to write a book, and he took 4 days of his short little life, and he made this book, and it was called The Adventures of Dylan Helbig's Christmas. None of those words were spelled correctly. Maybe his name was, but the other ones were not. And he went with his grandma or something to the library, and he put it on the shelf, like, because he thought it deserved to be on the shelf. Yes. And he didn't tell anybody, and then he got home, and he told his parents. And so they called the library, and they were like, hey, our kid left his book. Can you put it in Lost and Found? And the librarians loved it so much that they just put it into circulation. And they gave it like a, what do they call that? The library card at checkout. Yeah. Like a Dewey Decimal number and all that. It's all in the system. And I want to check that book out. So popular that it has 56 people on the waiting list. And like
it's
encouraging kids to want to write books and like also have their book in the library.
Yes.
Or as Dylan calls it, the library.
Of course he does.
Of course he does. I am not kidding you. You know how I keep telling you I keep crying about stuff?
Yes.
My hormones must be out of whack or whatever, but I was tearing up twice during this article.
I'm about to tear up thinking about it too.
Because it's just so beautiful.
Yes.
That he took the time and made it. They had to move it. He had put it in the fiction section. They moved it to graphic novel because, there was pretty heavy on the illustrations. But this is the best part to me. He's working on another book, and it's called The Jacket Eating Closet, based on actual events. Is that not the best?
On actual events. I love this kid. That is so cute.
The best. And I love that it's in the freaking New York Times.
It's so good. When you were a kid, didn't you have a project or a yearly like book fair where you would write a book and illustrate it?
Gosh, I don't think I did, Sarah.
I think it was called Aesop's Book Fair.
That's nice. And every kid would make one.
Yes, in every
grade.
And
then what would happen to them?
And they'd be on display. And you'd have a book fair night, and you'd walk around, and you just read kids' books, and then you had to make a book. And I remember Jordan made one called Jordan's Terrible Day. And it was all about how he was having a bad day. And I read it recently, and I was like, somebody needed to listen to Jordan that day.
Somebody needed a hug.
Yeah. I have pictures of mine that was on mine's on saving the planet, like why we need to not litter and recycle and not
this
kill
is a
animals.
theme of your life.
Yeah.
The litter bug.
Yeah. I believe one line is, can you believe people actually hunt animals? Why can't they just play basketball?
What if that was the solution?
Right.
Like, people just didn't know about basketball, and so they've been, like, ruining the earth.
Just play? I totally have photos of this book in my...
Wow. Well, I wish we had that, but you know what? I went to a private Christian school, so we probably, it's like a budget problem.
Probably budget. Yeah. I think that's also a really great gift to give kids if you're ever or if you have a kid in your life that you want to you don't want to get them, you can buy blank books, like these hardback books. They have them at any art store. And I think they are great gifts for kids because you just give them a book and don't you know, they always fill it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really cute. I love that. I'll find those photos and post them on our close friends.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. One more documentary roundup one more that I really loved besides Bill Cosby was, called American Factory.
Oh, my mom is obsessed with that.
Did she watch it?
Yeah. She was like, Sarah, you have to watch it. It's so good.
It is good. It won the Oscar for best documentary. But as we learned in documentary club, sometimes that's not what people want.
Right.
Sometimes they don't want the high-minded whatever. In this case, I really loved it because it's about a factory in Ohio that had shut down. People lost their jobs. They had worked there the whole life. It was sad. And then a Chinese glass company bought the factory and opened up. And so then there's all these jobs. But, it is a Chinese company. All the people that run it, even in the Ohio plant, are Chinese. And so they explored those cultural differences and the differences in expectation
of workers.
It's one of those things where you cannot believe, workers. You cannot believe that people say stuff on it, the bosses.
Oh, I can't wait. I have to see this.
Just the way that they talk about Americans. I mean, it is hilarious and accurate, but just
lazy.
But I mean, everything's relative. In the company's plant in China, workers only get 2 days off a month. So, I guess we are lazy compared to that.
It's not the job for me.
They work 10 or 12-hour shifts. And so they think we're just total slackers.
And meanwhile, they're running prison camps.
Oh my God, Right? So there's a real difference in what's typical or expected or normal or acceptable.
I'll say.
And then, like, you know, safety is expensive. Making sure your workers don't get hurt.
Oh, no.
And they just were like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Oh, no.
It was so bad. And I just cannot believe they were saying it on camera. And then now it was out and won. And
I have this idea, maybe theory, call it that when you have a small company and you say you're the owner of a small company and you have like 10 employees, you interact with those employees on a daily basis, probably.
Yeah.
You see them, you have exposure with them, there's a personal connection.
yeah.
There's more, I feel like there's more compassion and understanding for this person as a person. The larger a company becomes, the more distance the heads of those companies have between them and the workers, or them and even the consumers. And I feel like the humanity and empathy and compassion also follows that same, like it is.
I mean, this is what we saw with the Holocaust. The dehumanization of people can be detrimental and tragic on that's a huge scale.
Yeah.
And then this is like a medium scale because like these are real people. They just want to make a living and not risk their life to do it.
Yeah. And when you have 1,000 of those people, it's harder to have those. You don't have those same kind of personal connections, or you don't. So everybody becomes just a I don't know, a cog in the wheel, I guess, or something like that, instead of a individual that has needs and feelings and
a fully formed person.
A fully formed human.
Well, I think it's important now, probably more than ever in recent history, to watch because of the way that it shows how unions work and if the bosses really don't want a union, that's how you know you need one.
Yes, 100%.
So you can see that in action and you can see them talking about it and then whatever. But it's fascinating because I think even though this came out, I think in 2017 or 18, I mean, this union issue has really been coming up a lot in the news with Starbucks and other companies. And I do think it's worth a consideration to watch.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that.
Yeah.
My mom had the same reaction. She's like, oh my God, you won't even believe this. You have to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I wasn't going to talk about this one, but I also saw this documentary called Ascension, and it was all in China. Mm-hmm. And it was about people working in China, various jobs. And it was beautifully shot. It was a work of art. And there was very little talking. Mm-hmm. It was almost all imagery. But what you get a sense of is like the difference between like the rich Chinese classes and the lower. And what that can mean in terms of a human life.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So anyway, it's just interesting to see how it all works because
I went to China with my aunt on a buying trip when she worked in like imports and exports and or like wholesale marketing or like selling or whatever. And we visited some of the factories where some of her products were being produced. And I don't think I can remember feeling humbled and feeling like I was lucky and understanding how the privilege that I had. I was 13 years old, and I remember going through the neighborhoods and seeing there was one TV for the neighborhood, and everybody would come hang out and like in somebody's garage, and they would all watch it together. And I remember my aunt telling me that the salary for one of the employees was the equivalent of $12 a week. And I had a moment where I had like, you know, my little daily salary that my mom or my aunt gave me while I was there. And like, you know, or whatever, it was like my amount of money to spend on the trip. And I went into one of the stores to try to buy, like I was going to buy a vest. I can remember it to this day, what that vest looked like. The vest was $12. And I knew it was like the universe giving me a lesson right there of like, this vest that you're probably not going to wear. Like, and I knew that. I had that awareness is the equivalent to an entire week's salary for somebody.
Yeah.
And I did not buy that vest. And but I can remember how much that lesson like sank in, how much I felt that. And, you know, I think sometimes we think, oh, kids won't understand these concepts, or kids won't, like, we should, you know, I don't know.
Well, it sure helps if you can see it with your own eyes like you did.
Or even opportunities to go. I had a similar feeling when I went and built houses with the church that I went to, and we like went to Mexico and we were building houses, and I saw how grateful the family. I was like, these are things that people who are privileged need to frickin' see too. I think it's important.
If you watch Ascension, there's a scene in there where these women, Chinese women, are painting the details on blow-up sex dolls, or like rubber sex dolls. It was, I cannot get it out of my head because, like, it's just a day at their job.
Right.
Like, they're not thinking much about it, but, like, they have paintbrushes and they're, like, drawing the areola on the nipple and, like, hey, can you make sure her lip and this and that? And it's just, like, these are going to go be, like, cum dumpsters for incels in America. It's so disturbing.
For stupid, like, everything.
And they have to wear these masks because of all the paint fumes and
the
their
toxic.
health is.
That's one of the worst parts. That's another thing I can't get out of my mind is I can still smell how that town smelled. It smelled like resin. Yeah.
Right. And these people are not considered the same way that we consider ourselves, or even, you know,
for our stupid products, so that it could be cheaper, like $1 less. Like,
yeah, it's disturbing. But I would recommend watching it because it is beautiful. And if you're intimidated by subtitles, don't be, because, like I said, it's very visual rather than verbal or dialogue driven. And it is fascinating to watch. They had a whole factory of, like, Make America Great Again gear, you know, like all of it. It's just bizarre to see it being created. Anywho.
That is so weird.
I'll tell you what's not weird.
What?
Is having a app and debit card that you trust and love and is useful to you. It has no overdraft fees or foreign transaction fees. Thanks to Chime. Thanks to Chime, you can have that dream come true, baby. They have over 60,000 fee-free in-network ATMs. It is just a better checking account, no monthly fees. That is great.
Simple.
Right? You can send money to anyone, even if they aren't on Chime. Fee-free for you and no cash-out fees for them. Make your first good decision of the new year and join over 10 million people using Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/braincandy. That's chime.com/braincandy. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Get fee-free transactions at any MoneyPass ATM in a 7-Eleven location and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Otherwise, out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. Sometimes pay anyone. Instant transfers can be delayed. The recipient must be a valid debit card or be a Chime member to claim funds. Yeah, so anyway, watch that.
Yeah, those are good ones to check out.
Okay. I read a really fascinating article on Vox. I think the title was, "Is Confidence a Cult?" Some sociologists or experts think so. And so I was like, I love a cult.
Yeah, we do.
And I love confidence.
We definitely.
So, am I in a cult?
Right.
So,
am I the leader? Am I their leader?
It's a really great article, and they were interviewing these two women sociologists, and they were studying this sort of shift in culture where women women's magazines and stuff started using that language of like empowerment and self-care and all that language. And I have talked about it on this show, how like I'm very suspicious of it all.
Yep.
And then this article did finally put words to what I was trying to say. So it was talking about how the financial crisis and the rise of social media happened. And then the response was this sort of austere, like, call for women to like make their own fucking homestead jam or whatever, and like whatever.
Prove
and it was
yourself in this
new
like
more work.
Yeah.
And so they basically frame this new movement as just another way to make you feel like crap.
For 100% for sure.
They're even including body positivity in that.
Agreed.
Because like it's so false and manufactured. Like even those Dove ads where you have like the rainbow of colors and all different. It's still to sell
fucking soap. They're still.
Yeah, like it's still selling a product that is kind of founded in an idea that you're not good enough as you are, and that they have the solution and you can buy it.
Yes.
And that even like they brought up the books, those ones that are like how to not give a fuck, and
yes, the subtle
like
art
all
of not
that.
Giving a fuck. Yes.
That's the one.
Yes.
That's the one. And how even when they're kind of being countercultural and saying like fuck everything, that there's the directives are still inward focused. It's still about like you not giving a fuck and you not doing this, instead of about community building and dealing with the systems that have been designed to be fucked.
Agreed.
And it's just like, thank God someone is pointing it out. Because
do you think because we're an individualist society that we look for, it's just like even when we're trying to find the solution or we're identifying the problem, we the default or like the easiest place to look, or like where we're almost conditioned to point what we're pointing the finger at is the person, not the system, because we're individualist culture.
Yeah, that whatever the problem is, the solution is you. And that's false.
But also the problem is you.
Yeah. And so like even I know a lot of people love like Brené Brown and those very inspirational people, Glennon Doyle, where, they talk a lot about being vulnerable and how important that is. But they pointed out how it's a very temporary and contained moment that you're allowed to be vulnerable, so long as you ultimately overcome and become confident, self-loving, resilient, and content. And so it's just like, don't carry on too long about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's still the ultimate goal of, and also that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to say it's the opposite of acceptance, but in order to get that ultimate feeling of I think more than confidence, more than self-worth, we have to focus on self-compassion. Mm-hmm. And that's the part we get confused. We think that the ultimate goal is to be confident, but I think the ultimate goal is to have self-compassion, to be able to accept ourselves at wherever we are. And if it's like, we set this like, I just want to be confident. I think those kind of big statements are like, I just want to be happy, or I just want to be, confident, whatever. Our brain doesn't really know what to do with that because it's super vague. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? And then also, when your brain hears, I just want to be confident or whatever, nobody can be that all the time. And so you're setting yourself up for failure.
Well, and that's why a community helps with that.
Yes.
Because if the system is designed to meet people where they are, to have safety nets for when things come up, to have health care when you get sick, so that it isn't all about you white-knuckling it your whole life and then putting it all on yourself. That's what communities are supposed to be, but we have completely dismantled that.
Yes.
And so, as we've seen in the pandemic, women and moms especially, as I think I said it to you, that article I read where it was like, other countries have safety nets, America has women.
Yeah.
You know? And if you're not feeling it, like if you're a woman or a mom in this moment or whatever, and you're not feeling this, then I'd like to have a conversation with you. But like all these women that are sort of the ones like cheerleading us and saying like, you can do this and you have permission to be vulnerable, but you also need to it's like an on-ramp to then be self-assured. Yeah. Like they're already on the other side and they're all white women mostly of privilege telling you like you can do it. Yeah. It kind of is gross. And then like moms have this double whammy of like, not only do you have to perform that confidence just generally, but you also have to set this example for your daughter or your son and model it all the time of like...
That's unattainable. Can't do it.
Right.
You're going to be setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. And there's just not that same conversation about how are men modeling like self-assuredness and agency to their kids.
No way. Oh, God. You're right.
In fact, it's funny that you brought up that work camp trip that you took for church or whatever.
Yeah.
They mention even that, like the volunteerism industry where you like go and help somewhere. Yeah. A lot of that rhetoric on their websites is like build leadership skills, build confidence. Totally. Like it's about like yourself.
You're 100%
while you're helping your sister abroad or whatever it is. It's just so built into our culture that I don't even think we notice it.
I don't think so
It's just
either.
like internalized.
Yes. And we see it as a good thing. We're like, that's what people want. So we include those buzzwords.
I get real worked up about it because it is infuriating. And it's one of those things I would put in that jar you talked about where like, I can't do too much about it.
Yeah. You know, also, I'm thinking also about if the ultimate goal is accepting ourselves and being able to feel like confident and or, you know, whatever, like basically accept ourselves. The best way to do that, is through like connecting to others. Like, you know, I told you about like, I couldn't have experienced that in a vacuum, like by myself. You have to connect to others. And through connecting to others is how you ultimately, like we're going about it the completely wrong way. We're trying to do it individually.
From within. Yeah.
And that's not where that comes from. We know that the more you the more accepting of others you become, the more accepting of yourself you become.
Honestly, this is my mantra whenever I am feeling really shitty. Yeah. Like really down in the dumps. Yeah. I have started saying in my head, I need to love more.
Yes.
Like for real though, because if you make it like a mandate that, okay, I feel like crap, so I need to love other people more. Yes. Then it really is a balm. I mean, it's like the volunteerism thing. It does build confidence, whatever. Yeah. But that shouldn't be the primary goal. It should just be a lesson about how, you know, giving is its own whatever.
Right.
Anywho, are you familiar with Wordle?
I love it.
I knew you would.
Of course I love it. It's the best. And
what's your favorite thing about it?
It makes me feel clever. Because I always get them. And I know they're designed that way. Mm-hmm. But I'm always like...
I'm just glad you don't share it on Twitter.
No, I don't, because I don't know how.
Oh.
If I did, I probably have.
No, I would have seen it. And I would have been like, oh, God.
Because I've definitely played. But
yeah, I'm sure.
You know.
Well, my favorite part, as you might suspect, is that the creator's last name is Wardle.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
His last name is Wardle. Wardle.
That's the same. That's word. That's the same thing.
Right. It is the same.
I mean, this always holds up.
And how he made it for love. Like he just did it for his girlfriend to entertain her during the pandemic.
For real?
For real.
Oh, well, I love him. And I heard that the New York Times bought it for 7 figures.
That's right. That's a happy ending because...
That's a great ending.
He didn't put it in an app. He didn't make us buy it, like us personally, the users. And he got rich. He has love in his life. He loves words. He's a superhero.
This is great.
I like that.
Now there's
story.
the real American story or whatever.
Somebody did a tweet where they were like, New York Times, please keep it free for us, but make it 99 cents to post the results on Twitter.
Yes, that is what they should do.
I was like, that's genius.
Genius. They should do that.
Because people really love sharing it.
They will do that. Yes. That is actually super smart, and they should totally do that. And
if you're not familiar with Wordle, I guess I didn't explain it because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's just a word game where you try to figure out a word.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you like my description?
Yeah, I hear there's a little bit of a argument that, or some problems over British/English spellings of words. That there was a word recently that was the word of the day, the Wordle,
and it was spelled Britishly,
and it was spelled Americanly. And
but he's American.
I know. I don't know. People were. This is just what I heard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's only so many 5-letter words, so they're going to have to get creative.
Yeah, I love that.
Eventually.
Yeah, it was even in Saturday Night Live. They did a whole.
Did they?
Yeah, with Trump. Yeah, not like the actual.
What about it?
Like the Saturday Night Live guy, but he was just using Wordle to like.
Do you have like a set start word that you always use?
Oh, that's a good question. I try to use a word that has the most vowels.
Okay.
So I tried to get a like. No, but I should have like a start word. That's good. But usually like, as many vowels as I can and no repeating letters, obviously. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Have you played this?
There's all these. I told Adam about it, so then he went on and played it.
Of course.
There's something about me that's annoying. I am a very annoying person, as you guys know, where like if everybody loves something that I'm Larry David, okay?
You are.
I want to hate it.
Yes.
And so I was like, what is this? Because at first you just see the goddamn blocks in my Twitter feed. I'm like, what is going on here?
Right.
And then it ticks me, and then I get mad. But it is a delightful story, and I'm glad that it had a nice ending for the creator because he sounds like a really sweet guy.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably
anyway.
a brain candy brainiac. Shout out to Mr. Wardle.
So. But it's so funny whenever there's anything like that becomes viral or so popular, then there's all these think pieces. So there's like a think piece about the backlash. People like me who are like annoyed when people talk about it too much, or there was a great one, I think it was in the Washington Post, written by a religion scholar, a religion journalist, and she was talking about ritual and why it's so important and how religion does the same thing, and Wordle.
Yes.
They meet a specific human need.
Yes.
I do enjoy all that.
Consistency, it's predictable, it's and it's like a little win. We like those things where it's a little bit of effort, but a reward at the end. It's really good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does make you disturbed though a little bit when so much of like what we enjoy is because it distracts us from our reality. I wouldn't mind if the reality started being a little more enjoyable.
I'd like that. But you know
One of these days.
Is it though? Has it ever been?
Well, you know the last part of Don't Look Up where Leo's character says, we really did have it all. I keep thinking about that, about pre-pandemic.
Yeah, we really did
and
have it all.
how we had no idea.
We had no idea.
That we had it all. And then I said to Adam, but then whatever's in the future, maybe we would say that about right now. So I should enjoy right now because maybe we really have it all.
This is true.
As you can hear, I'm in an existential crisis.
Sounds like it. Better start playing Wordle.
Right. It's so true. Okay.
Because you need a break.
Moving on.
From that. Just from the...
What's... From terribleness.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about this. There was an article in Atlantic titled, Is Old Music Killing New Music? And it was talking about how...
I'd say vice versa.
You think new music is killing old music?
Well, just...
What makes you say that?
More like... Well, it's kind of like the things we've talked about, that we've moved away from... You and I have said, would certain artists be able to become as famous today? Because they almost need... It's a different package that maybe we're selling today than before. Like, we have like what is it called? The Sound Factory in Sweden. Those guys who just like pump out, use this formula. And then you find like the person who just looks the part and who can sing, but is like, I don't know. It just feels like the formula for new music is that kind of killing. But that's another argument. What is this one?
The premise of this was about how much of the music market is coming from old songs versus new songs. And this is a new development where 70% of the music market is made up of old songs. That is a lot.
I never really thought about that. That's true.
So like now, if you want to make a ton of money in music, you want the rights to like really old shit, like, the Beatles or...
Yes.
Who just sold... Bob Dylan just sold his whole catalog for like $1 gazillion.
Jeez, crazy.
So it's about these old guys. Some of them are dead, most of them, and otherwise in their 70s and 80s, who are still the top of their game in terms of generating revenue.
Wow.
And they were trying to say why that was true. And one of the things that really stuck with me is how ever since like Blurred Lines, there's this real fear about sampling or even accidentally writing a song that's too similar to another one.
Yeah.
And so execs won't even open demo tapes that they get in the mail. They send it back to the person because if they listen to it and then 10 years from now they write a song that's like got a similar stanza, then they can get sued.
Wow.
And so if you're not exposing yourself to music in that way, then you're not going to hear as much.
Totally.
And you won't be able to find and nurture new talent.
Totally. Wow.
I was so disturbed by that.
That is disturbing.
And the top 200 most popular new tracks now regularly account for less than 5% of total streams. That rate was twice as high just 3 years ago.
I also think there's this new... Really, it's like a musical... We've never really experienced anything like this, where old songs will get used on like TikTok videos. And it'll become a TikTok trend, like that Fleetwood Mac song that then became the number one stream song. They had crazy album, like top of the charts all over again. The members of Fleetwood Mac were like, thank you. This is like awesome, and there's a part of us, we've talked before about how the brain loves a little bit of novelty and a little bit of nostalgia. And combining new, like being able to use an old song with a new image over the top, it's almost like everybody's making their own music videos on like Instagram Reels and on TikTok and stuff. And so I think a lot of these songs are popping
right,
up
like
again.
the song is the familiar half.
Yes.
And then the platform is the novel part.
Totally.
And so then we just keep using the same songs all the freaking time.
Yeah, because all the ones that I look in like TikTok's like top like trending songs, it's like a Kanye West song, but from like 10 years ago, or like stuff that's like way old.
I'm sure the pandemic
Love
has
grows
exacerbated that.
grows where my rosemary goes. That's trending right now.
I mean, that is a great song.
It's a freaking great one. But that is like, nobody would think that song would be in the top 10 of right now. That's so weird.
It's kind of depressing. I told my friends, though, I sent it to my friends, and I said how I felt the article was equivocating because on one hand they said it's the execs, like they don't want to nurture and grow the new talent. And then on the other hand, they were saying that like audiences don't want anything new. So in the end, I was like, wait, who are we blaming? Everyone?
Right.
But it just bummed me out because like I want more stuff. I want to nurture new amazing artists, whoever the next, whoever is, the Beatles or whatever.
Man. And it's like, are those people going to be able to get the opportunity to showcase their talents in that real way? And I don't think so. I think, it's not as authentic.
So that's a bummer.
Yeah. Well, I do think also this is an argument for why, and we can't do that anymore really either. Why like small venues and live shows are so wonderful when you have like people who are really, really talented. Like I went and saw one of my favorite shows I ever went to was Alabama Shakes, and the woman who's the lead singer for Alabama Shakes does not look like somebody who would be like your top pop star or whatevs. I don't know if there's a better like this woman is so talented and so amazing. And, it's just like this music doesn't become as mainstream, and you just have to kind of see it in those small venues. And,
I mean, that's why it kind of feels miraculous that someone like Lizzo or even Billie Eilish are with us because they are so new and different and not fit the mold type of gals. Yeah. And they beat the odds, but they're not as common as they used to be. Like new music was different. And I'm glad I was heartened though to hear it because when you get a certain age and then you're like, they don't make music like they used to.
The actual age is 34. They've done studies on this. People stop searching for new music over the age, I believe it's 32 or 34. We talked about this on a past episode.
Yeah, and I thought that must be what's happening to me. But reading this made me realize this is a actually bigger problem than just Susie's approaching death. So that's a relief.
This is not just Susie's existential crisis.
No, it's nice. It's the whole world.
It's the whole world. Existential crisis.
Okay, last thing. There was an article in Smithsonian Magazine about how museums curated or collected artifacts from Hurricane Katrina. And I just liked it in general. Like they were using Katrina as an example, but they were talking about how a museum maintains history and like what the approach is. Like how do you decide when there's a disaster going on? Like this should be saved for historical purposes and then...
Like, are we talking things that represent or showcase the tragedy or things that happened in Hurricane Katrina that are getting saved? Or is this museums that...
No.
Okay, this is actual items that for
display. To then tell the story of...
Wow.
The history.
You're essentially creating a time capsule.
Yeah, and like... How do you know what's important? Yeah.
And what else have we done this with?
I mean, that's the thing. Maybe that's why this example was used, because I don't know when museums became self-aware.
Right.
That this is history. It's present, but it will be tomorrow's history. And how you have to like mess with your head just to like kind of figure out what's important and how important of a job that is, because they're going to tell that story.
They're essentially the history writers.
Yeah, and you know how they say history is written by the victors, and that's not great.
Mm-mm.
Like, keep that in mind when you read the Bible, by the way. Mm-hmm. The person telling the story is the one that's still fucking alive.
Oh, my God.
At the time. So anyway, they were describing how in this case, they're literally digging in the dirt to find symbols of this moment. And like they went into a house with a guy, and he's a clarinet player, and they found his collection of clarinets just completely caked with debris and mud. And so they got one of those for the museum because that represents that tradition in New Orleans of music and brass specifically. Yeah. And then like they like to choose everyday items. So they try to find signs, like even signage that says like this way to evacuate, you know? And like the cardboard signs.
What is the job title? Like, are these people...
They must be curators, right?
Historians? Are they... like, they work for... It almost is like, is this a library science? Like, what is the... It feels like...
Yeah, what are their qualifications?
Yeah, I just am like, this is an interesting... Well, you know, because I work with a lot of young people in my practice, and a lot of them, you know... It's hard to know, like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And I've often said, like, we don't even know. Like, there are so many jobs that there are so many things that you could do. You don't even know. And this is, like, one of those examples of, like, who knew this was a job?
Yeah. And it's such an important one. Yeah. Like I said, the stories we tell are what determine how people think 100 years from now. Right. It matters. The one sign that was featured in, you could see it in the article, said it was a big plywood sign, and then it had, what do you call that? Paint, spray paint.
Yeah.
You know, and it just said, "Have we been forgotten?" And they said it was important because it demonstrated the way that when we make these signs, I mean, really, it's an act of hope because someone's got to read it, and you believe, like, if I just put this on there, someone will see it, and I can still matter. Like, there's still time for me to matter. They just need to get their message out. I just thought that was so insightful.
Really insightful. That's really interesting, and something I never thought about.
Right, because I tend to think more about these types of exhibits as being, you know... You find them like in the rubble, like the archaeological, like here's the caveman's whatever.
Right.
You don't think about how they still have to do that now.
Right.
With stuff that happens in the news. So.
And it's hard to have, like you said, that foresight, that like awareness of what in the future is. I guess the things that move us and the things that feel emotional don't really change.
Right. Yeah, like it's all basically survival and
yes, things that represent
family.
Survival and the human spirit.
We're really deep.
Yes, we are.
Let's wind it down, Sarah.
Good episode. We learned.
We learned a lot. We learned a lot. Bill Cosby's still a dick. We know that. An 8-year-old writing books.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Yes.
Beautiful thing.
Yes.
And then union, yes, if you ask me. Union, yes. My dad was in Local 85, Solidarity Brother, the Amalgamated Transit Union. We got to be pro-union around here.
There you go.
And, old music. Can't beat it, I guess. Who knew?
Man, we covered about a lot.
I know, I feel bad. Like, I've been overwhelming these poor people.
No, this is good info. This is how we are.
Anyway.
It's the Brain Candy Podcast, man. You're going to learn.
Check out our patreon.com/braincandy and our website. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.